Hi, my name is Tony Coletta, and welcome to our webinar on reducing anxiety and difficult behavior in young children. Given the impact of the recent pandemic, young children have spent the last few anxiety-ridden years separated from the four key elements of childhood: family, friends, classroom, and play opportunities. The two basic needs of young children that ensure healthy development are trust and safety. These needs have been shattered. In one study of children all over the world, it was found that anxiety rates have doubled since the pandemic. Many children are afraid, angry, and worried about the future. They have trouble sleeping, are easily distracted, have stomach aches, they're clingy, and they fear being alone. Also, this increased anxiety has caused young children to be less cooperative and more challenging in their behaviors. In this webinar, I will present 6 strategies for reducing anxiety and also another 6 strategies or ideas for managing difficult behavior in young children. Also, there are over 100 ideas and activities in my new paperback book, which is available on Amazon. Anxiety tells the child to proceed with caution in order to stay safe and avoid accidents. Anxiety, which is a fear of future events, is now the #1 mental health disorder for both children and adults in the United States. Every child needs a certain amount of anxiety in his or her life in order to stay safe. Any discussion of reducing anxiety in young children should first begin with natural remedies. These are remedies such as exercise, yoga, meditation, deep breathing, experiencing the outdoors, for example, looking at sunsets, looking at flowers, looking at oceans, also drawing, finger painting, playing with pets. These are the activities that we do first when children are showing signs of anxiety. If a child's level of anxiety is causing serious family disruption in their everyday life, then clearly a professional therapist should be contacted. However, for everyday anxiety issues, like fear of doctors and fear of animals, or a child who asks what-if questions, what if I fall and get hurt? What if there's a monster under my bed? For common anxiety issues, a knowledgeable teacher or parent can intervene and use one or more of the strategies presented in this webinar. A parent or teacher does not have to be a professional therapist in order to use strategies that are therapeutic. Financial planners say know your money, or at least where it's going. Educators say know the child. Is the child you're working with or your own child an egg or a carrot? If you put an egg in boiling water, it gets hard. If you put a carrot in boiling water, it gets soft. Children who are like eggs are tough and more able to cope with stress. Children who are like carrots show greater sensitivity and find it hard to deal with anxiety. Know what you are dealing with. Here is a short video of me speaking to a group of early childhood teachers and parents about a child who was under a lot of stress and anxiety. I had a mother recently tell me she walked into her 4-year-old's bedroom one night to tell the child about her schedule the next day, which was loaded with preschool things to do, school, after school, gymnastics, the next day a French class, ballet. Kid had I think she had 5 extracurricular activities, And while the mother was talking, the child threw up right in front of her. And the mother was telling me about this because she had heard me talk about, she said, I think my child's a carrot. I've got to be really careful about how much stress I put on her. So nothing beats Knowing your child, when you know your child, you make good decisions. Adults like to deal with an anxiety event by talking about it, sometimes over and over. Grown-ups simply like to talk it out. However, young children like to play it out. They prefer to relieve anxiety through repetitive reenactments of a play scenario that is the source of their anxiety. Let's get started with our first strategy for reducing anxiety in young children. It's known as guided dramatic play. Now, you all know about dramatic play, which is spontaneous and imaginative in young children. We call dramatic play the occupation of young children. For them, reenacting the stressful experience is more helpful than talking about it. We have known for many years, we can go back to Erik Erikson in the 1960s, that playing it out is a natural self-healing measure. There is just something about the nature of play that is deeply therapeutic. There are four major themes in young children's dramatic play. One is the monster or dragon, two, the wild animal, three, the giant or witch, and four, family issues such as separation anxiety, fear of being alone, sickness, or going to the hospital. Through guided dramatic play, using figures representing family members, the feelings felt in these issues can be presented, expressed, and possibly resolved. Let's talk about a real-life example. Sammy, who was not yet 3 years old, had a traumatic experience at home. Sammy was sitting on a chair somewhat like this one. He fell off and he split his chin open. Sammy's parents rushed him to the emergency room of the hospital. He was so upset, the nurses had a hard time taking his vital signs. Finally, the doctors were able to put him in a pediatric papoose, shown here in the picture, and they were able to immobilize his head and stitch his chin. Sammy had a terrible experience, and when he came home, he was very angry and his behavior was very difficult. So Sammy's parents, with the help of his preschool teacher, begin to engage Sammy in a guided dramatic play scenario involving Sammy and his favorite character, Winnie the Pooh. And they engage him in conversation, and then all of a sudden, Winnie the Pooh, who's sitting on this chair, falls off. And Dad says to Sammy, "Oh no, Winnie fell off the chair. He's hurt. I think we should take him to the hospital." So Sammy and his family are now in the hospital pretending to be in a hospital room, and Pooh Bear is in a hospital bed, as you see, with a blanket over him. And Dad says to Sammy, "Sammy, let's help Pooh Bear. Let's rescue him. Let's take him home from the hospital." And Sammy takes the blanket and throws it back, grabs Pooh Bear, and jumps into his mother's arms, thereby rescuing him. And Sammy repeats this several times, and each time his parents cheer. Through repetitive guided dramatic play, Sammy experienced a sense of mastery over an experience that had shattered him just months ago. For children who suffer anxiety, reenacting a scene and expressing feelings can be cathartic. Let's look at one more example of how dramatic play helps children work through an anxiety experience so that they feel more in control. 5-year-old Ruby was sick in the hospital, and when she returned, her kindergarten teacher set up the dramatic play area as a hospital. Let's go to our PowerPoint for an explanation. Ruby had spinal meningitis and was absent from her kindergarten class for 3 weeks. When she returned, she went straight to the dramatic play corner, which was set up as a hospital. Ruby put on a white coat, asked another child to be her patient, and proceeded to listen to her heart with a stethoscope, give her a shot, and pretend to eat some medicine represented by a bowl of plastic cubes. Ruby spent much of her time during the next few weeks in the same dramatic play area, treating one patient after another. Soon she spent more time in other parts of the classroom, as she did before she got sick. Clearly, the dramatic play she engaged in was important for helping her to work through the hospital experience. Through her play, she gained a sense of mastery over what she had been through. Ruby's experience is what happens to many children as they engage in dramatic play. They take aspects of their experiences and transform them into something new. Another therapeutic strategy for child care centers is creating rituals which provide a secure and happy environment for children. Let's go back to our PowerPoint for more information. Every child care center has its own rituals. Rituals create support for children, especially during difficult times. If you read Jackie Howell's book, Rituals and Traditions, you will find that rituals are special actions that have deeper meaning for the children. Rituals are routines with added values. Routines are repeated events that are planned parts of the day or week. Routines provide predictability for children. Nap time, for example, is a routine, but when you add deep breathing, relaxing music, or spray a lavender-scented sleepy spray, it is more special, has more meaning, and becomes a ritual. Think about the rituals in your life as a child and parent. At nighttime, children have a bath, then a story, and then cuddle. Ice cream after a doctor's visit. Special things that you say to your family first thing in the morning. You might say, good morning, or what's up? And the last thing at night. I like to say to my kids, see you later, alligator. So rituals are special actions, and preschool rituals are things like birthday celebrations where you read a child's favorite book, show his or her baby pictures. The child is first in line for the day. Other rituals include sing-alongs, cooking days, happy face day, dress up as a book character day, and circle time. Greetings and goodbyes can become rituals by adding choices. In the coronavirus era, the choices can be, instead of touching, a smile, a fist bump, an elbow bump, or saying hello and how are you? For a wonderful morning greeting song, we recommend Hello, sung by the early childhood legend Ella Jenkins. Here's a sample. Another ritual for child care centers and for parents is baby doll circle time created by Dr. Becky Bailey. Here is Dr. Bailey in a brief video explaining her program.
I had the knowledge, I had the heart, I had everything that knew that I had to get more one-on-one time with each child in my care. I knew that was essential for development. I knew that was essential for my joy in my job. So here's how it goes. 1, I play a social game. A social game is peekaboo, patty cake, round and round the garden, tickle tickle, all those types of social interactions with you and that child. It could be Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Woo. So all those moments you play with the child. We want to then provide them the opportunity to play with their baby doll at circle time. And as each child plays with their baby doll in circle time, they relive that moment in their head and in their biochemistry of that connection with you. And even more powerful, as you add social games they play from their home and bring it into baby doll circle time, at that moment during midday with you, they can relive their attachment and bond with their families. And that's what baby doll circle time is about.
Our third strategy is the worry monster. Parents and teachers can use any puppet Or they can use the real worry monster that you see here to help reduce children's anxieties. Let's go back to our PowerPoint for more information on how the worry monster can help children. For both adults and children, it is thoughts that set off emotions. These thoughts, which may or may not make sense, cause children to feel anxious. If we as teachers can help children change their thoughts, anxiety could be better managed. One way to do that is to introduce the worry monster. To change a child's thoughts, find a funny-looking stuffed creature. You say to the child, I want you to pretend that the worry monster likes to whisper in your ear that bad things might happen. For example, when the child says, what if the other children laugh at me? The teacher shifts the source of the fear to the worry monster. And the teacher uses a transfer statement such as, oh, you think the worry monster is going to make the children laugh at you. Then the child practices a talkback statement to the worry monster, such as, I am not going to listen to you. Let's create a transfer statement and a talkback statement for these fears. If the child says, will I get sick? What will the transfer statement be? Just think about that for a minute. And if you said something like, you think the worry monster is telling you that you are going to catch the virus, you're correct. And the talkback statement would be, no, I won't, you're wrong. What if the child says, what if a dog bites me? What would the transfer statement be? Well, if you said you think the worry monster is telling you that a dog is going to hurt you, you were correct. And the talkback might be something like, well, that is not going to happen. The third example, what if a monster gets into my room while I'm sleeping? The transfer statement might be, you think the worry monster is telling you that a monster is going to sneak into your room at night? And the talkback statement, not true, you stay out of my room. Our fourth strategy is the well-known skill called active listening, which a parent or teacher uses whenever a child is upset or frustrated. For example, if a child's pet dies, an active listening response might be, I can see that you're sad. It's hard to lose a pet that you've loved. Here is some more information about active listening. Anxious children are filled with feelings, most of them negative. When you use active listening, you accept these feelings. As teachers and parents, it is hard for us to accept negative feelings because we do not want to give the feelings power. We want to diminish them. If a child says to his or her parents, no one at school likes me, the parents usually do not hear the feeling of rejection. They want to snuff it out. So they say, that's not true. The child becomes confused because he feels rejected, but parents are telling him it's not true. However, when teachers and parents accurately identify and acknowledge these emotions, children feel better and finding a solution to a problem becomes easier. Good early childhood teacher is very accepting of feelings. I recall being raised, I hurt my shoulder. Oh, I started to cry. An adult said to me, boys don't cry. I said, my God, I must be a girl. And then I hurt my knee, and I was, oh, my knee hurts, my knee hurts, my... And so an adult said, your knee does not hurt. I said, I thought it did. So we need to be very accepting of feelings so that children feel comfortable expressing feelings. 5-year-old Dan says to his mom and dad, I don't want to get on the school bus unless the whole family comes. His parents were very concerned. Mom's first intuitive thought was to say, well, the bus driver will never allow all of us to get on the bus with you. And besides, you will love riding on the bus. Her son probably would have yelled back, "No, I won't." Instead, however, Mom actively listened to her child, and she said, "It can be scary to go to a new place without your family." When she said that, her son nodded in agreement. Take note that when a child's feelings are accepted, the child is relieved, just like adults. Children feel safe and supported when teachers listen without judgment.
I can't stand Roger. He told me I stink at soccer. I feel like punching him in the face. This happened when my son was in the 2nd grade. I said, time for active listening. I said, so you are really angry at Roger because he refuses to acknowledge that you are just as good at soccer as he is. And he said, yes, yes.
Let's identify the feeling in each of these child statements. If the child says, "Will the germs make everybody sick?" what is the feeling here? If you said worried, you were right. How about the virus is gone? And if you said feelings of being relieved or happy, you were correct. If a child says, "Those stupid train tracks, they always break," of course, the child is feeling frustrated. The bus driver yelled at me and everybody laughed. And here the child is feeling embarrassed. This puzzle is too hard. Also frustration. I can't wait for vacation. Here it's excitement, or feeling excited. And lastly, I hate you. And clearly the feeling here is anger. Teachers and parents search for wisdom as to what they can say when children are upset and anxious. Strategy number 5 has to do with making statements that make children feel better. Here are some suggestions. For example, saying to a child, "I know this is hard," can be very helpful. "We will get through this together." "I will keep you safe." One happy thought in the morning can make the whole day happy. "Well, you can't have a rainbow without rain." Of course, the famous words of Christopher Robin, "You are smart, you are strong, and you are brave." Or how about if you see someone without a smile, give them yours. Our 6th strategy is bibliotherapy. Here's an explanation on how stories can help children cope with stress. And of course, bibliotherapy is the use of reading materials to solve personal problems like anxiety. A good reference book for teachers and parents to find books for children is titled The Best of Bookfinder by Sharon Dreyer. You look up words in the index like anxiety or worry or fear, and you'll find relevant book titles in appropriate age ranges. Also, a good children's book about reducing anxiety is titled A Feel Better Book for Little Worriers by Harriet Brockman. Here is a short video clip describing this book.
A Feel Better Book for Little Worriers, published by Imagination Press, a children's book imprint of the American Psychological Association. Today I'm going to read Little Worriers and then do an activity to hopefully help if you're feeling big or small worries. So here we go. Going today, are you doing all right? Are you fantastic and happy and bright? Or do you feel troubled and perhaps a bit funny, like butterflies are fluttering around in your tummy? If your answer is yes, then you might have a worry. What is a worry? It's thinking a thought that something might happen or that it might not. The thoughts that you think create feelings you feel. They're no fun at all, and you wish they weren't real. Worries are normal. They aren't always so bad. Everyone has them, even moms, even dads. There are things you can do to help turn it around. Let's practice together, just you and me. First, take a deep breath.
We have come to the end of the first part of our seminar. Let's take a few minutes to discuss and process what has been said thus far. Welcome to the second half of our webinar. In this portion of the webinar, I will discuss 6 more strategies that help parents and teachers encourage cooperative behavior in young children. Keep in mind that 10 to 15% of all children are born with difficult temperaments. That means that they're born with instructions hardwired into their genes that tell them to resist being cooperative. Our greatest challenge as teachers and parents of temperamentally difficult children is learning to accept each child on his or her own terms. Accept what you are given and plan thoughtful strategies for the future. Here's a short video describing my view of a child who is born temperamentally difficult.
I think if a child who's difficult could speak upon coming out of the womb, they'd give you the finger like this, and they'd say, let's get something straight right now. In this house, I have all the needs, you have none. Your job, should you choose to take it, is to make sure that I'm having fun, followed by more fun, and that I'm never bored. Your job is to make sure that I am loved unconditionally, even when I'm being totally obnoxious. Any questions? If not, let's get on with it. And that would be the temperamentally difficult child. Now, the big rule for dealing with temperamentally difficult children, when the difficult child is angry, we are calm. And so people say, well, how do you stay calm? I say, the way you stay calm is through the plan where you rehearse the strategies and responses that you've already put on paper. You rehearse them. Again, without rehearsal, there can be no performance. If you rehearse the kinds of things you want to say when children answer you back, for example, and temperamentally difficult children, very disrespectful, I won't do it and you can't make me. I don't have to listen to you, and I love this. Who are you? I've been with temperamentally difficult children where they've talked like that, I find myself looking around like this. Are you talking to me? Who are you talking to?
Here are some ideas for thoughtfully dealing with uncooperative or difficult behavior. The first idea is known as the 3-step process. For many years, I have used the 3-step process when dealing with uncooperative behavior, such as hitting others, breaking things, tantrums, defying reasonable requests, cursing, and even rudeness. And the first thing we do in this 3-step process is identify the feeling. I like to say that if we understand the child's feeling, we are more likely to understand the behavior. The 3-step process is very helpful to use with a child who's really angry, or a child who's fearful or sad, frustrated, disappointed, or worried. So when you have a child, for example, who is very angry and just so mad, you want to identify the feeling by simply saying something like, I can see you are so mad, or, oh my goodness, you are angry. And the second part of the process is to tell the child what to do and connect that to a classroom or school rule that you might have. So, for example, you'll say, wow, I can see you are so mad, but in this classroom, we keep ourselves safe. Or in this classroom, we use a gentle touch. Or in this classroom, we take turns and you had your turn. Or we use our walking feet instead of running. Or in this classroom, we use kind words. In this classroom, we listen with our eyes and ears. And then thirdly, we give the child a choice or help him or her explore solutions to the problem. Giving a choice is effective with a resistant child who needs to control the environment. For example, we might ask, would you like to pound Play-Doh or blow bubbles? Usually the child chooses one of those choices. One of my favorite solutions is to say to a child, is there a word I can say that when you hear that word, you will calm down and cooperate? I like to tell the story about when my son was 5 years old and how I used the three-step method. It was a Saturday and we went to the mall for a few hours and we did some shopping. And then we had agreed that at a certain time we would leave. And when I told him it was time to leave, he had a meltdown and he wouldn't leave. And he cried and so forth. So I carried him out. And when he calmed down at home, we sat down and I used the three-step method with him. And I said to him, I know you were very upset when I told you it was time to leave. And then I went to the second step, which is, but you know we had agreed upon a certain time to leave, and that was the rule. And then thirdly, I said to him, do you have any ideas about what we can do the next time we go to the mall and we have to leave? And he looked at me and he said, no, I don't. I said, how about, is there a word I can say that when I say that word, you'll know it's time to leave and you'll come? And he thought for a moment and he said, is there a word? Yeah, there's a word. And I said, what's the word? And he said, warning. And I said, if I say the word warning, you'll know it's time to leave and you'll come? And he said, I can do that. And that's what happened. The next time we went, I reminded him of the word, used it, and he came home peaceably. A second strategy in encouraging cooperation is avoiding power struggles by giving a child an appropriate choice. We have this motto that says, arguing with a young child is like fighting in the mud with a pig. You both get dirty and the pig loves it. I have asked one of our participants here, Jill, who's right here. Jill's going to come on up. Now, Jill is going to play a temperamentally difficult child. I'm her teacher. We're out on the playground, and it's time to come in. And I say to Jill, Jill, everyone's inside. Please come in with me right now.
I don't want to. I'm going to come when I'm ready.
Jill, now.
I won't.
Jill, you have to come in. Please, come in now.
No, I don't want to. I don't have to listen to you.
Now, at that point, we have the metaphorical rope. And unless I have some alternative strategies, I'm probably going to get into the power struggle. And so we want to do this so you visually see what the power struggle looks like. This is a metaphor, right? So at that point, Jill picks up the rope and I pick up the rope. And I say to Jill, now, Jill.
No.
You better.
I won't.
If you don't, you're in big trouble.
I'm not coming. I'll come when I'm ready.
Jill, I told you to come in right now, and you better come in, Jill.
No.
Okay, you can let go of the rope. Wait. Not finished yet. All right, Jill. You've got a choice. You can either walk into the classroom on your own, or you can hold my hand and we'll walk in together, or if you'd like, you can even skip in. What would you like to do?
I want to skip.
Okay, let's skip in then. A little round of applause for it. All right, a couple of things now. Number one, young children born with difficult temperaments love to fight. And why not? You realize children really have nothing to do. Do you understand? I mean, they're not busy. When I'm doing that back and forth, what's going on in my head? I've got my do list is there. I've got a million things are going on that have to be done. She's loving it. Okay? Secondly, we always use a non-power technique with a temperamentally difficult child. We stay away from the power struggle and we move to choice. I don't know about you, but anytime someone gives me a choice, I feel like I need to pick one of the two things. I don't know. Like on Saturday mornings, my wife's cleaning the house, I'm reading the newspaper. Does she get angry? No, she doesn't get angry. She says to me, she smiles, comes out to me, she says, "What would you like to do? Unload the dishwasher or vacuum?" And I'm compelled to do one of those things. Does choice work all the time? No. Sometimes a smart child says to you, "Neither." Oh, then you have to go to your next strategy. Generally speaking, people, including young children, prefer having input and control over their lives. Giving an uncooperative child a choice is likely to be more effective than making a demand. Instead of saying, "If I have to tell you one more time to come to circle," try saying, "It's time to come to circle. Do you want to come by slithering like a snake or crawling like a crab?" Instead of saying, "Pick everything off the floor right now," try, "It's time to clean up. Would you like to pick up the dolls first or the princess stuff?"
Here's another example of giving a child a choice instead of having a power struggle. Instead of saying, "Get in the car right now," you might want to say, "Would you like to take your stuffed animal or a snack on the ride?" Third strategy is using the grumpy duster. When a child is cranky and uncooperative, tell him or her, "I know what will make you feel better. I'll get the grumpy duster to help dust those grumpies off." You want to use a clean, soft duster, as you see in the picture, to help dust those grumpies off and put an end to the grumpies. Anytime a child is in distress, playfulness is always an effective tool to use. So here's the statement that you would use. And the fourth strategy is playing the fool. For example, if a child refuses to put his jacket on, you might say, "Oh my, I forgot. How does this jacket go on? Do I put my foot in first? I'm so confused. Thank you for helping me." A fifth strategy are the three famous rules of redirection, distraction, and substitution. So we redirect inappropriate behavior. If a child is dangerously throwing rocks, redirect the behavior to throwing sponge balls. See, we use different material for the same need. Or we distract a child from an unwanted behavior by taking his mind away from it and showing a different toy, Play-Doh, or blocks. Move the child to an object or even a new spot, inside or outside. Ride a scooter. Begin singing a favorite song or rhyme. And then there's substitution. When children are angry, have them pretend to be an animal and stomp and growl, or pound clay or pound nails into a tree trunk, as they do in Montessori schools. And for a child who insists on flicking light switches, substitute a flashlight. Our sixth and last strategy is using empathic iMessages. Here is a video of me speaking to parents and teachers of young children on how to create and to use empathic iMessages. The empathic iMessage is probably the most effective response to temperamentally difficult children that you can use. And what it is, the first part of the empathic iMessage is kind of like actively listening to feelings where you kind of reflect the feeling. I can see you're upset. I can see you're angry, that kind of thing. And it shows warmth and concern and so on. But then the second part is the firmness and the don't mess with me. I can see that you are angry, but I will not allow you to hit. I want you to ask him if you can play with the truck. Now the next sentence I'm going to give you is a takeoff on this one. Only as preschool teachers, a lot of us, we study Piaget, right? And Piaget says that to understand is to invent. And I've always liked that. It means kids can't really be creative until they know something. So look at this particular statement. I know that you are angry and that's why you hit her. Can you think of a way to make her feel better? So now we're appealing to the child's sense of creativity, if you will, to come up with, to invent some solutions to make the child he has just
injured, if you will, feel better. I know it's fun to throw things, but I need for you to put the puzzle pieces back in the box so they won't get lost. I know you were upset, but I want you to speak to me with respect. I will not allow you to speak to me that way. These all have to be. Now you can write your own and rehearse them. And this can be part of your plan, and you can maybe even work with parents to use empathic iMessages at home. A child who constantly interrupts others during circle time. Somebody give me an empathic iMessage. Yes, ma'am.
I understand you have something to say, but the other children want to finish listening to the story, so let's wait till the end.
They say that humor is the foundation for building self-esteem. And I say to you, children are the funniest people in the world. Am I right? Now what you got to do is when they say something funny, you got to write it down, otherwise you'll forget it. Write it down, and then when there's a bad moment, a bad day, who's upset, who's angry, who's in a bad mood, you bring back the little sound bite, if you will. Example. And in my backyard, there's this huge rock, and the kids from all over the neighborhood, they come over to play, they jump on that rock. I go out to the backyard one day. Someone had taken a tube of Elmer's glue and had squeezed it all over this rock. This Elmer's glue all over the rock. I was so angry. The fathers know what I'm talking about, because we're always cleaning up, fixing up whatever the kids have damaged. I go into the house, I get the two of them, 7 and 5. I said, who went into the backyard? Who took a tube of Elmer's glue? Who squeezed it on a rock? And who's going to clean up Elmer's glue? And my 5-year-old at the time said, who's Elmer? He said, Dad, if Elmer spilled that glue, Elmer should clean it up. Who's Elmer? Now don't you know, through the years, somebody's having a bad day. Just look at him. So, who's Elmer? Have you ever noticed that if you get a child to smile, they're good for the rest of the day?
Our webinar has come to an end. I would like to thank you for your participation. If you are an early childhood teacher interested in receiving a certificate for watching this video and completing a reflective summary handout, please email me at Coletta, C-O-L-E-T-T-A, followed by another A, at wpunj.edu. Let me remind you that my new book, Reducing Anxiety and Difficult Behavior in Young Children, a guide for parents and teachers, is now available on Amazon. There are also hundreds of other ideas regarding preparing children for kindergarten, building self-esteem, and increasing child development knowledge. You can get a free copy of my ebook, Reminders, Reflections, and Revelations, Quotes for Parents and Teachers of Young Children, by going to my website, www.teacherparentassociates.com. A sample quote from that book is, "Worries are negative thoughts that can be changed to happy thoughts. Worries can be written down and thrown away." Thank you very much for attending this webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. See you again soon.